There's some things that just go together. Thanksgiving and turkey, hugs and kisses, helicopters and rescue, or our personal favorite, performance vehicles and winding roads. So when we had the opportunity to spend some time in the hills of Los Angeles, California, we knew we would have to bring a vehicle that had a legendary performance pedigree. And this is what we got. In a lot of ways, the BMW M2 is more of a successor to older model M3s than the current M4 is. It's smaller and offers a more dynamic driving experience. Some are even calling the M2 Competition the best M car on the market. Now available only in competition trim, we're here to find out if this BMW M2 Competition is the ultimate driving machine. Before we hop into the good stuff, let's discuss a bit of history. The M2 was introduced for the 2016 model year as a replacement for the BMW 1M. The 3-liter inline-6 made 365 horsepower and 343 pound-feet of torque, with 369 pound-feet of torque available during overboost. The M2 Competition was introduced for the 2019 model year as a complete replacement to the M2 Coupe. We should also mention that BMW has just introduced at the 2019 Los Angeles Auto Show an M2 CS. Be sure to check out our first look video. A major reason BMW opted to completely replace the normal M2 Coupe was to comply with European emission regulations. And very much a win-win situation, that means the M2 Competition has a version of the S55 engine found in the BMW M3 and M4 instead of the N55 engine that was in the M2 Coupe. More on the engine and performance later. Let's look at the exterior of the M2 Competition. The one we have here is a 2019 M2 Competition in Sunset Orange Metallic. Compared to the outgoing M2, the Competition gets a nose job and has a wider one-piece kidney grille. The air intakes are larger and help with cooling. There's also an additional engine cooler underneath the front grille. The 3 slats on the front bumper pay homage to the 3.0 CSL. You can also see the functional vents on the side of the bumper. The headlights are adaptive and LED. They have a nice aggressive design with BMW's trademark halo look. The grille as well as the side gills are painted black. BMW has honored the request of many enthusiasts and have added double-arm M mirrors. The M2 Competition is very muscular and has broad shoulders. It's over 3 inches wider than a normal 2 Series. Starting from the rear, you can see this long accent line that extends from the fender and forms a crease that ends at the gill and looks like a spear or an arrow. It's a very subtle design touch, but one that I like very much. The wheels are 19 inches and house brakes that have grown in size. Up front, there are 15.7-inch rotors with 6-piston calipers, and in the rear, there are 15-inch rotors with 4-piston calipers. The calipers are painted gray, and these brakes are highly resistant to heat and fade. In the rear, there are black painted quad exhaust tips. I'm not sure why BMW can't design a better muffler system, or at least paint this one black. It sticks out like a sore thumb and looks like a cost-cutting piece. There's also an M2 Competition badge, and the rear taillights are a bit plain, but nevertheless serve their overall purpose. The design of the M2 Competition is pretty good. It's subtle and aggressive in some areas. For me, it's the proportions of the M2 Competition that make it so likable. It's pretty much the perfect size for practicality and performance. The M2 Competition offers 13.8 cubic feet of cargo space. Moving to the interior, the M2 can be opened by using the key you see here or by placing your hand behind the door handle.
Alright, hopping into the 2019 BMW M2 Competition, and first impressions are this car is quintessential BMW. I mean, everything is taut. I mean, there's, you don't hear any squeaking or cracking. All the materials have a purpose and there's no fluff. And I really love that about BMW. In a lot of ways, they're very minimalist. And some people think that, for a luxury car, they should have more glitz and glam in the interior. But for me personally, I really love the fact that BMW just keeps it very simple, and what you need is what you get.
The M2 Competition gets M Sport seats with 14-way power adjustments for the driver and passenger. They offer a good amount of support and comfort. There are plenty of indicators that you have an M car, with M2 Competition badging on the door sills and dash. The seats have illuminated M2 badging. That way, at night, you can admire the smart choices you've made in your life. The leather-wrapped M steering wheel is a nice size and has M color stitching, which also comes on the seat belts. The rest of the interior has orange stitching. Buyers only have the choice to get black leather, but can choose between orange or blue stitching.
I love the fact that they've kept physical buttons. I'm not a fan of touchscreens everywhere. I mean, the touchscreen in the middle here is great, but touchscreens everywhere I'm just not a fan of. So I love the physical buttons, and I think BMW just did an amazing job with this interior. Sure, there's some soft touch plastics or some hard plastics here in the middle, but this is, at the end of the day, the entry-level BMW, but nonetheless, it's still very well made. I really love this exposed kind of weaved carbon fiber that they have throughout. It's just a really nice touch.
The M1 and M2 buttons on the steering wheel allow drivers to customize settings for the engine, stability, and steering. Those settings can also be adjusted individually using the buttons on the center console. Notably, the M2 Competition doesn't offer adaptive suspension. Our car came with BMW's 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. It's a $2,900 option. A 6-speed manual comes standard. There's no park on the transmission. To put the car in park, you simply leave it in drive and turn the ignition off. Shifting can also be done using the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. The paddle shifters are solid and offer secure and very fast shifts. I will say, once I set my preferred driving position, the steering wheel did disrupt my line of sight for some of the information in the gauge cluster, like the digital speedometer. I wish it was placed somewhere higher, but hey, small complaints. The BMW M2 Competition has BMW's iDrive infotainment system and Harman Kardon audio system. iDrive is good, but I hate that BMW only offers Apple CarPlay on a subscription basis. In terms of maps and navigation, I have yet to find a factory navigation system that is better than what is offered from app-based systems in terms of usability and accuracy. At least CarPlay is an option because Android Auto isn't available at all. There's also a secure place to put your phone for wireless charging and USB connectivity. The USB port next to the cup holders seems a bit sketchy because electronics and moisture aren't usually a good mix. The rear has decent space. With the passenger seat set to my preferred position, I was able to fit somewhat comfortably in the back seat. Those who are over 6 feet tall may not enjoy the space as much. The materials are also good in the rear, and rear passengers get climate-controlled vents. The controls on the back of the seats let you adjust the positioning, although the headrest rubs the ceiling when the seat is pushed too far forward.
I don't know, there's been some complaints about the fact that this thing doesn't have the adaptive suspension in it, but honestly, I mean, I don't miss it. I mean, yeah, right now I'm on a pretty crappy road and there's bumps and so on and so forth, and you get a little wiggle, but I mean, who cares, you know? I mean, you buy a vehicle like this car is made for performance. It's not made to be comfortable. I mean, it's actually very practical when you think about it. There's a 2+2, there's a decent amount of room in the back seat, so on and so forth. So it is practical. If the thing that you're complaining about is harsh suspension, then you probably shouldn't get an M2 Competition. You should probably get something like an M3, which is bigger and also comes with the adaptive suspension. But overall, I honestly don't have a problem with the suspension.
What I am sure you all have been waiting for, the M2 has a red start button. Let's listen and start it up. As we mentioned earlier, the M2 Competition does away with the single-turbo N55 engine found in the previous M2. This car now has a version of the twin-turbo S55 engine found in the F80, 82, and 83. It's a proper M engine. In this application, the engine makes 405 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque.
Alright, so what about driving impressions? Well, just watch this. I mean, there's just no way around it. This thing is amazing. It feels so good. I mean, it's really hard to explain what this thing feels like, and it's really not light. I mean, nowadays, sure, it's light, but 3,600 pounds is not really that light, but it feels so nimble, and I love that about this thing. And the steering is great as well. I can feel what's going on the road. It's just a really, really good car. This thing is amazing, amazing. And I mean, no better place to be than here in California on this road, on this day. This car is just made for this, and I really love it for that. need one of these very much. This is probably the most fun I've had in a vehicle in a long time. Good car, very good car.
It was truly a joy to drive the M2 Competition in the Los Angeles area. While on our journey, we ran into a number of automotive and motorcycle journalists testing new vehicles. We really enjoyed running into a journalist who was reviewing the new Suzuki Katana. She was kind enough to let us take a bit of footage. If you don't know, the original Katana was released in the 80s and eventually stopped production in 2006. Suzuki has brought the Katana back for 2020, and it was awesome to see one in person just a day after it hit dealer showrooms. The Katana comes with a modified version of the 999cc engine from the K5 GSXR 1000. It has 147 horsepower and 80 pound-feet of torque, which is plenty of power to have tons of fun. I love the angular, muscular, and square look. The Katana has a base MSRP of $13,499. It was also really awesome seeing a female journalist taking one out for a spin. But easily the most fun we had with the M2 was the time we spent on the Angeles Crest Highway, where we ran into a Husky Vitpilen 701 and enjoyed a spirited follow. The Vitpilen has a 693cc single-cylinder engine with 71 horsepower and 51 pound-feet of torque. In a straight line, the Vitpilen is a bit quicker than the M2, with a 0 to 60 time of 3.6 seconds and a quarter-mile time of 12.1 seconds at 113 miles per hour. The Vitpilen starts at just under $12,000, but let's stop talking and have a bit of fun. I am completely in love with the M2 Competition. It ticks all the right boxes for me when it comes to a great car. Incredible performance, great drivability and feedback, and plenty of everyday usability. When I think about what an honest-to-truth BMW M car should be, this, the M2 Competition, is my new benchmark. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.